In 2010, he was named as one of the best emerging filmmakers. Asham Ahluwalia has agreed to talk to us on his recent film, Misslovely. Hello, sir.
Hi.
Tell us a little about your film, please.
Okay, so it's a story of two brothers that make C-grade sex horror movies in Bombay, in Bombay in the mid '80s, and it sort of charts the kind of breakup of their relationship, and and it's really set in a very different kind of space than you're used to seeing in traditional Indian film. It's set in the really seedy underbelly of the industry. So yeah.
So, what made you choose such a bold topic, especially when it comes to Indian cinema?
I just didn't really connect. Personally, I don't really connect so much with the Bollywood kind of film. That's not my background. I come more from art cinema and from independent film. So, for me, it was a natural thing to try and find a correlate of the kind of film I was making in India. When I studied in the States, in New York, and I moved back, and then I saw a lot of these posters for these sex horror movies, and I thought, well, that's interesting because these guys are working in the industry, but in a way they're outsiders like myself, and they're working in this extremely rebellious, almost illegal kind of way, and I thought I was very attracted to that spirit. Not that the films are great, the films are pretty trashy, but the kind of crazy energy with which these guys make films was very inspiring. So I thought I'd like to explore this, and I started working on a documentary. And I started hanging out with a lot of people that were working very covertly to shoot these films because it's all, like I said, it's all illegal. And by the end, nobody wanted to be in my documentary because they didn't want to have their identities revealed, since they are running from the law most of the time when they're shooting these films. Pornography is illegal in India, nudity is illegal, so they're doing a lot of stuff which would get them in jail for at least 5 years. So I took a lot of those stories and ideas from the documentary, and I kind of wrote a script, and that became the basis of Misslovely.
Do you think if you would have made a documentary, you would have captured the essence of the film more rather than making into a fiction film?
I don't know if it would be more or less. I think it would be very different if it was a documentary. If it was a documentary, it would have been more about the scale would have been smaller, and I think what I wouldn't have been able to do is take it back to the 80s when it was actually a big boom. Because when I was doing the research, it was in the 2000s, and it was like sort of at the end of this industry. It was almost over. The internet had pretty much destroyed it. These guys were no longer shooting. So the film would have been pretty much about the end of the industry. And what I did with Misslovely is said, let me take these stories back and set them in the golden years when the stuff was all over the place, in the mid 80s, which was the real big boom time for C-grade sex movies. So what it's done is something different. It's just transformed that project into something that's set in, this big era when these movies were being made all the time. So it's just different, yeah.
Okay, last question. What were the difficulties you faced while filming as regard to how the audience or the society will receive?
I never think about the audience. That's number one. I never think about the audience, and I never think about how society will receive my films. I just make them, and if they're going to be censored, then they're going to be censored. And I really don't think so much. I don't self-censor. I start with an idea that I think is pure, and then hopefully if it works and it's beautiful and it's interesting, then people around the world won't want to watch it. I find an audience where I find an audience. I don't go looking for an audience. The audience kind of finds me, and I find them in a weird way. So that was the question, right? About the audience. Yeah, I don't think about the audience. I think people that are interested in the kind of stuff that I do kind of find me in a way.
All right, thank you so
Thanks
much.